You tap a link on your phone. A second later, the page is just there. Feels like magic, right? It isn't. Behind that one tap, about a dozen quiet helpers each did a small job, finding an address, carrying your request, checking nothing broke along the way. Most people never meet them. But if you build apps, these 12 helpers are the difference between software that just works and software that mysteriously doesn't. So let's meet them, one at a time, in plain English. Before your device can talk to anyone, it needs an address of its own. Picture a street. Every house needs a number so mail knows where to go. On the internet, that number is your IP address. But who hands it out? The moment you join a Wi-Fi network, a helper called DHCP quietly gives your phone an address, plus the settings it needs, all automatically. Without it, you'd type those numbers in by hand every single time. So IP is the address. DHCP is the helper that assigns it. Your device now has a spot on the network. It still doesn't know where Google.com actually lives. Here's the gap. You remember names: Google.com, GitHub.com. Computers only understand numbers, those IP addresses, so something has to translate between the two. That something is DNS, the domain name system. Think of it as the internet's phone book. You give it a name, it looks up the matching number and hands it back, so your device knows exactly which computer to call. This happens every time you open a website, usually in a few milliseconds. Now you've got an address to reach. Next question. How does your request actually get there without falling apart? Your request doesn't travel as one big lump. It's chopped into small pieces called packets, sent across the network separately. IP labels each packet with where it's from and where it's going, so routers can pass it along toward the right place, like notes handed along a chain until they arrive. But what if a note gets lost? That's TCP's job. TCP checks that every packet arrives in the right order, with nothing missing. If one goes astray, it politely asks for that piece again. It's why a downloaded file isn't full of holes and a page loads complete. Careful, patient, reliable. But careful isn't always what you want. Picture a live video call. If something stopped to re-request every lost scrap of sound, your call would freeze and stutter. Sometimes speed beats perfection. That's UDP. It fires data off without waiting to confirm each piece landed. A few bits may drop, but the call keeps flowing in real time. Video calls, online games, live streams all lean on UDP, because a tiny glitch now beats a frozen screen a second later. So TCP for accuracy, UDP for speed. Two tools for two very different jobs. Your device can now find a server and reach it reliably. So what does it actually say? It speaks HTTP, the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. HTTP works like a simple back and forth. Your browser asks, "Send me this page," and the server replies with the text, images, and code to build it. Ask, answer, done. Nearly every website you open and most of the data your apps load runs on this request and response pattern. It's the everyday language of the web. But plain HTTP has a problem. Whatever you send travels in the open, like a postcard anyone along the route can read. Fine for a public article, not fine for your password or card number. So we wrap it in a lock. HTTPS is HTTP with encryption around it, scrambling the data so only you and the server can read it. That little padlock in your address bar? That's HTTPS at work. Banking sites, online shops, every login screen depend on it. The S stands for secure, and it earns the name. HTTP has one quirk. The browser only gets something after it asks. Fine for a page. Awkward for a live chat. You don't want to ask any new messages 100 times a second. WebSocket solves that. It opens one connection and keeps it open, so the server and your app can send each other data at any moment, instantly. Chat apps, live notifications, stock tickers, multiplayer games. That's WebSocket, holding the line open in both directions. Sometimes you're not loading a page, you're moving whole files or managing the server itself. To move files between your computer and a server, there's FTP, File Transfer Protocol. Developers use it to upload a website's files to a host. Plain FTP isn't encrypted, so safer versions. SFTP and FTPS add protection. And when you need to get inside a server and run commands, that's SSH, Secure Shell. It opens an encrypted door to a remote machine, so developers can log in safely and manage cloud servers on services like AWS. Files in, commands in, both done securely. Email has its own pair of helpers. When you hit send, SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, carries your message out toward the recipient's mail server. Sending is its whole job. But reading email is a different task, and that's IMAP, the Internet Message Access Protocol. It keeps your mail on the server and syncs it across devices. So when you read or delete a message on your phone, your laptop shows the exact same thing. SMTP sends, IMAP fetches, and keeps everything in sync. Gmail and Outlook both rely on the two. So look at what that one tap really set in motion. DHCP handed your device an address. DNS turned a name into a number. IP labeled your data and routers carried it. TCP made sure it all arrived, or UDP raced it there when speed mattered more. HTTP asked for the page, HTTPS locked it down, and WebSocket kept the live parts flowing. FTP moved files, SSH opened a safe door to the server, while SMTP and IMAP sent and synced your mail. 12 helpers, each with one clear job. None of these are magic. They're just clear agreements. Rules for how machines find each other, hand off data, and trust what arrives. Once you can name them, the internet stops being a black box and starts looking like a system you can actually reason about. So next time something breaks, a page won't load, an email won't send, you won't be guessing. You'll know which helper to go ask. And honestly, that's where good debugging begins.